Hey adventurers, hey Paxians, welcome back to another video. I'm Phoenix. I've got my breastplate on. I'm ready for today's video. We have some exciting news to talk about for verse 3. We finally got a date.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What?
It's coming June 11th. That's only, I almost said 6. It's only 5 days away. That's crazy. It's next week. It's coming next week. So, okay, I'm going to try to calm myself down. Verse 3 is going to be a significant update for the life of Pax Dei. If you're a returning player, if you've been kind of on the fence about wanting to play again, or if you are still playing, this video is for you. I really just wanted to highlight and call out some of the big changes that are coming, how those might affect you and your clan, and ultimately just maybe hype you up a little bit for verse 3 content coming. Anyways, let's start talking about what's changing, what's coming in verse 3 content. And I really see this as 3 big changes. So the first one is we're going to talk about the world. If you haven't kept up with any of the recent news, you may not know this, but the world itself is changing in Pax Dei. So we're seeing within this world changing sphere, see what I did there? The world is changing in some pretty drastic ways. So not only are we going to be seeing some of the maps physically change locations to accommodate some of the content that's coming, we're also going to see the addition of home valleys to each of the provinces. That number of 6 is being increased to 10. So we are gaining an additional 4 home valleys per province. So if you do the math on that, there are 16 additional home valleys that are being added to the game. So we have maps physically changing. We have home valleys being added. We are also seeing a condensing of the number of shards. So there's only going to be 1 shard per region. So everyone's going to be on the same shard for EU, everyone for NA. Makes sense, right? So there are huge changes coming to just the world. Now, we don't have full detailed maps yet of what's available in terms of like POIs and locations and things like that. But we do have some maps that are available, and they are on the Play Pax Dei website, so you can check those out under the media section. So that's a high level overview. There's world changes coming. Now, on the other side of that coin of the world change, that also means because of the changes, all of your builds, everything on your plot is getting wiped. All of that stuff's going away. So if you have 1 plot in one area, if you have 3 plots in another area, if you have multiple accounts with multiple plots, all of that's going away. You're going to have to start from scratch. So I'm not going to talk about specifics about wipe details yet because I want to save that till the end. But for the first one, for the big one, the world's changing. Okay. So number 2, we are being introduced to a new RPG system. And this is really where I think the bread and butter of this update is. The path of the adventurer, you know, basically it's really defining for Pax Dei to ultimately move into this territory of having true Trinity roles. So you have your classic DPS, tank, and healer roles that are really being defined with this update. Now, what you can expect as a player, updated animations for the particular different weapons that we have. There's going to be new gear, new weapons. And so everything that's existing in the game currently for gear and weapons is going to be completely redone. So you're not going to have those items come the June 11 update. Now, I'm particularly excited about this because not only are we getting new gear and new weapons, getting new attack animations, but you're also seeing additional depth being added to combat itself. So we are seeing additional spells, roughly 15 or more spells that are spread out among the various roles. So some specific to tanking, some specific to DPS or crowd control, and specific healing spells. So there's also a staff being added for healers, especially. There's also a push towards having more usability for specific gear types. So if you're a tank, you're going to want that heavy plate or heavy metal armor. If you're a healer, you're not going to want to run around in that anymore. You're going to want to use the healing specific gear. And gear itself is going to have specific benefits for the various roles that are available. Super excited because it's clearly defining and clearly moving into that territory of being more of that RPG aspect. And one more thing, if you didn't know, combat also is going to be every weapon is going to have 3 skills / abilities / specials, however you want to look at that, instead of the 1. So again, combat is combat RPG. The there's a lot that's changing here, and it's hard to cover all that in a high level overview. So again, if you haven't been around for a while, there's a lot that's changing. Okay, so that's the second update. That's a huge update. And we have one more huge update to talk about, and that's the crafting system. So crafting progression itself is going to be going through some significant changes in verse 3. Now, not every profession is going to see some changes or some significant changes. Mainframe has highlighted specific ones, specific professions such as tailoring, blacksmithing, and leatherworking that are essentially being completely revamped. So a lot of the changes are, again, related to the RPG system and establishing the specific roles that are out there for DPS, tanking, and healing. But again, crafting, another huge set of changes. So ultimately, those 3 changes are resulting in a lot of impact to the world, to the items, to the current gameplay that we see. So let's transition and talk about what does that mean for you as a potential returning player or as an existing player. First things first, and I shared this graphic that will hopefully have on the screen at this point. The world itself, again, going through some significant changes. So plots are being completely wiped and removed. Everything that's on your plot is going to be put into the redeeming queue in some fashion. Most of the items are going to be broken down into like raw resources, and assuming that those particular resources still exist in the game. Now, it gets really muddy fast when we start talking about, well, what about this item, and what about this type of gear or weapon or whatever. And again, I'm not going to do a very deep dive into those things, but generally speaking, items are being broken down into raw resources that will then be deposited to your redeeming queue. On the topic of redeeming queue, getting this out right away, you do not have to empty your current redeeming queue. It will persist into the next redeeming queue cycle. That's something that was kind of a little bit of fuzzy information. And the last time I made this video about verse 3 wipe details, I think I actually even said in that video, I'm emptying all my redeeming queue out because it wasn't really clear. And so clarity has come out, confirmation has come out that you do not need to empty your redeeming queue. So that makes your job easier. What do you need to do as a player right now based on the plots being wiped? You should start having conversations with your clans about what items or what crafters or what stations, where those should be. So that way, when the plot wipe does happen, who's going to be getting those particular items? Now, obviously, like we can't dissect and dive into every situation, but for example, if you have a clan that's no longer active, but you are, and a majority of the items are on those clan members' plots, they are going to be getting the items, and that may shortchange you. It may not. Now, I don't want to go too far into that because I feel like I'm giving people ideas about starting to tear stuff down, and that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying have conversations with your clans because people might wonder where stuff's going. So now is a great time. This is a perfect weekend to do it, the weekend before the wipe. Start making plans for how things are going to be divvied out, and get on the same page. Okay, enough about plots. Those are being wiped. anything to do with clans is being wiped. So your clan name, your all the heraldry and all of the members, all of that's being wiped. We're basically being put back in the world as new characters. So clans are gone, your character name's going to be gone, but you will not be able to change your character's appearance. So if you don't like your appearance, that might be a good opportunity to do that. However, you may not want to. Crafting skills are staying. So if you've done a lot of grinding on crafting already, that's staying. Combat skills, again, because of the RPG system changes, combat skills are being wiped. Everyone's starting back out at 1, basically, for those. So, so far we've talked about plot wipes. We've talked about clans being wiped. Combat skills are being wiped. All of your gear, those are all going away because they've basically been remade. Anything that was on your plot, again, is going to be put back into your redeeming queue, but a majority, and generally speaking, the items are broken down into raw resources. So what's not being affected? Essentially, what's not being affected by the wipe and the update are gold, grace, and crafting skills. So if you needed a short, quick snippet of information, there you go. Everything else is basically going away or changing or being broken down in some fashion. But gold, grace, and crafting, those crafting skills, those 3 things are remaining for sure. So where does that leave you as a player? Ultimately, I don't know. You know, you have to decide, is it worth checking out again with the significant changes that are coming? You know, we see a lot of the things that are coming. And like I said, I'm hoping that this is going to be a significant update for Pax Dei. Mainframe needs a win, really. You know, we've been struggling a little bit here, but the way that I see it, this is a huge update in the life of Pax Dei for mainframe. Significant changes to combat, significant changes to crafting. The world's being essentially remade in some ways. This is going to be a big update. So again, I'm hyped about it. I hope you're at least a little excited about it, hearing some of the changes that are coming. But I do want to be realistic. This isn't going to change the fact that things like subs are still in the future, and a lot of people have problems with that. That's okay. I do think that being able to see some of the incoming content that is laying the groundwork for that is going to be interesting. You know, the changes to the Petra days and being able to do a lot of your initial crafting and some storage there. That sounds interesting. Just not sure what it looks like yet, you know, from a gameplay perspective. So all that to say, like I said, I don't want to go into a lot of depth here because there are other resources that are out there, such as the dev Q&A answers, the recap information. I even have a document below of capturing all the questions from the dev Q&A. And not to mention other folks like Altari, I'm sure will go through these things in more detail, more than I want to, because I want to keep this very high level. So as we close out this video, should you return for verse 3 content for Pax Dei? And in my mind, the answer is yes, you should return and try it, because right now there's no sub. You still get your plots. The sub doesn't start until the future when we get to 1.0 launch. So you still have time to play and test and noodle around with what Pax Dei feels like, especially going through some significant changes coming. So if you're on the fence and you need a kick off the fence one way or the other, I'm kicking you into playing more Pax Dei. Anyways, really though, I'm excited for it. Is it gonna save Pax Dei? I don't know. We'll see. You know, we won't know until we get there. But the developers are headed in the right direction, in my mind and in my opinion, with trying to address some of these changes that they're bringing in to really more clearly define the roles. I think for me, that's kind of the big thing, is like defining these roles and adding content that supports the definition of those roles is really one of the significant changes I think we've seen, because basically everyone is running around in plate right now. So again, super excited. Verse 3 content is coming out on June 11th. If you are interested in learning more information, playpaxday.com has some articles about some of the changes in more detail. Until next time, friends, adventurers, Paxians, until next Wednesday, June 11th, we'll see you on Discord.